Coming up on the show, we take a look at the evolution of Windows Server from the new semi-annual channel release cadence starting with version 1709 and advances for Nano Server for containers, to native support for Linux containers and workloads on Windows Server, and a first look at the new HTML5-based admin experience. I'm joined today by Jeff Woolsey from the Windows Server engineering team. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, Matt.
So your team's responsible for the direction of Windows Server, and we're here to talk about the evolution. But before we go there, we made some pretty foundational changes in Windows Server 2016 that are worth recapping.
Oh, that's totally right. So the work we did in Windows Server 2016 gave us the foundation to build a consistent hybrid cloud. And there are three areas I want to highlight. So with security, with shielded VMs, we make a virtual machine a black box to protect against rogue admins or that VM that accidentally gets out into the wild. Then, of course, we have application innovation with Windows Server containers, which provide application isolation through process and namespace isolation. And, of course, software-defined data center that gives you massive scale. For example, Windows Server 2016 supports the largest physical servers and VMs in the industry. Flexible hyper-converged deployments are now supported. We have Azure-inspired networking, which is where we took our learnings from Azure and brought them on premises, such as the Azure Data Plane, Software Load Balancer, Distributed Firewall, and a lot more.
So lots of big foundational changes there, but how's Windows Server evolving?
So going forward, Windows Server is evolving to deliver innovation through two channels, the long-term servicing channel and the semi-annual channel. The long-term servicing channel, that's business as usual with 5 years of mainstream support and 5 years of extended support. You'll have the option to upgrade every 2 to 3 years the same way you've been doing the last 20 years. Now, for those of you who want to innovate faster and take advantage of new features sooner, we're adding the semi-annual channel. The semi-annual channel is a software assurance benefit and is fully supported in production. The difference is that it's supported for 18 months and there'll be a new version every 6 months. Finally, I want to point out that for whichever model you choose, you're still in full control of patching your servers.
Now, I've noticed that you're calling this release semi-annual channel version 1709. What's the meaning of that?
Well, to make versions easy to identify, we refer to it by the year and the month. So in this case, 1709 refers to the year 2017 and the 9th month, September. Very straightforward.
So switching gears, tell us what we're doing to make it easier for folks watching to get their developers on board with new app innovation.
Well, let's start with Nano Server. In 2016, Nano Server had two roles. The first was to run on hardware for bare metal roles like Hyper-V and storage. The second was to run within a container. Now, folks, you gave us your feedback, and the overwhelming majority of you are using Nano Server within containers. So we are refocusing Nano Server to be the best container image possible. So Nano Server that shipped as part of Windows Server 2016 was just over a gigabyte on disk. Nano Server version 1709 is less than a fifth the size at 195 megabytes, resulting in faster deployment and startup times, making it the ideal OS for new cloud apps.
And that's cool for developers, but can IT pros help with application modernization?
Absolutely. So we know that organizations have lots of apps deployed today that they'd like to modernize. For those apps, Server Core within a container provides the compatibility needed for existing apps, and IT pros can lift and shift these apps into containers. So let's take a look at this. So here we've taken a sample CRM application. This is simply running on .NET 4 Framework and SQL Server, and move these into a couple containers. Now one is running IIS Server and the other is running SQL Server, both using Server Core. The most important being that this application just works without any code change. Now you can see I'm launching the browser and it's just refreshing for just a moment. And what you see is here's our CRM application. It just works without any code change. So an IT pro can easily do this.
Now that's awesome for Windows workloads, but what about Linux workloads?
Yeah, so we're taking the Hyper-V isolation that we introduced in Windows Server 2016 to the next level by bringing Linux containers to Windows Server.
So can we take a look?
Oh, absolutely. So you can see here that we have the official Docker repository with Apache Tomcat. From here, we've downloaded this Docker container to run. Now, I want to point out that I'm running this Linux container without any code change. This is literally as is from the Docker repo, and I'm running this using the simple docker run command. I also want to highlight that I'm running this Linux container on the same host as the Windows container, just using a different port, port 88, and using Hyper-V isolation. And you can see we're refreshing right now, and there it is. Here's the Tomcat application server running in a container side by side with the Windows CRM app. No more spinning up dedicated VMs to run Windows or Linux. This is incredibly efficient and optimized. And of course, if that isn't cool enough, Matt, I brought a little special surprise. For those that like cool console apps, yep, here's Nyan Cat running in another Linux container.
Thanks, Jeff, and what a lovely cat.
Thank you.
But what are we doing for infrastructure and management?
Well, there are a number of things we're doing in this area. To go hand in hand with Linux containers, we're introducing the Windows subsystem for Linux, also known as Bash on Windows. You can use the same scripts and tools that you've been using for Linux containers now on your Windows server. We're also making it easy to use your Windows file server for containers by adding support for mapping SMB volumes to containers. Of course, we're going to continue to support next generation hardware with things like NVDIMMs, and we're bringing deduplication to REFS volumes and a whole bunch more, but really we need to get to management. So if you think about how you manage a server today, you're probably used to using a variety of tools: Task Manager, Device Manager, Event Viewer, Server Manager, Disk Manager, and more. And there are a number of consoles you use to troubleshoot in regular use. So today I'd like to show you how we are making it easier to manage your servers with a new Windows Server Management solution. So this new server management solution is an HTML5 based UX that provides an intuitive way to manage your servers wherever they reside. On premises, in the cloud, in a VM, you name it. In addition, it makes remote management easier than ever. For example, if you're taking a quick look at a server, you probably want an overview of resource utilization. Here in the overview, I can see the server name, processors, the operating system, memory, disk space, its resources, and so much more. If I'd like to make sure that my hardware is configured properly, whether it's physical or virtual hardware, I can take a look at it by clicking on Device Manager. Click on a resource, for example, like this ACPI-based PC, click on driver, get version information, and other details. Suppose I'd like to review the security logs in the event viewer. No problem. Click on the event viewer, and while it's loading the event providers here, you're going to see there's probably a few items here. So I don't need to see, for example, all of this verbose information. So if I want to take a look at my security logs, I can click on Filter, filter out the information in verbose filters, and now we only see the critical errors and warnings. And you can see there are a couple of items I need to check out for later. If I want to clear that, just click on the clear filter. It's really that simple. Now suppose I need to create a new temp folder on this remote server. No need to log in, simply click on File Explorer, and right now it's giving me a list of the disks. And if I need to add that temp directory, not a problem. Simply select the disk, create a new folder, call it temp, click OK, and you can see there's my temp folder. Real simple. Well, what if I'd like to review network settings? Again, not a problem. Click on Networking Settings. It's going to load the networking settings, and I can see the details. In fact, this is a really simple system here. It's just got a single network adapter, but I can see the name, the link speed, the description, and more. If I'd like to configure and make changes to IPv4 and IPv6 settings, I can again do all of this remotely. Well, what if I need to do something like add a role, like say Hyper-V? Well, click on Roles and Features, and you can see it provides a full list of all the roles and features available. So if I want to add Hyper-V, I simply find the role, select it, click on Roles and Install Roles and Features, and move on. Finally, what if I need to do something like configure storage, replication, VMs, or even Windows Update? It's really that simple. And I hope I've made my point. It's really just a click away. Finally, one last thing I didn't mention, this is all managing a server core system. So imagine I have servers running in Azure IaaS, or I roll some servers into your office. Now I can hand you a Surface, or you can install this management tool on your Windows client, and you can easily manage your servers.
Awesome stuff. But does this management solution require Windows Server version 1709? And how much does it cost?
No, our goal is to manage down level to Windows Server 2016, and we're investigating being able to manage back to Windows Server 2012 R2, and this new management will be available at no cost.
So does this new Windows Server management ship with Windows Server version 1709?
No, this new server management is shipping in parallel, so we can again listen to customer feedback and iterate real quickly. We think it's a great way for you to start working with Windows Server version 1709.
So how can people try out these new capabilities for themselves?
Well, keep current and download the semi-annual channel release today. Download, of course, this awesome new Windows Server Management preview. And keep in mind that the way that we are delivering Windows Server moving forward offers more opportunity than ever to help influence our product direction. So please sign up to the Windows Insider program today.
Well, thanks very much, Jeff, for walking us through the evolution of Windows Server. This truly is awesome stuff.
Thank you.
And keep watching Microsoft Mechanics for the latest updates. See you next time.